I'm going to take a look at getting started with Adobe Lightroom version 4, creating a library and creating some initial metadata settings, and then importing a set of photos and exporting one. To start with, I've opened System Preferences because I want to adjust my mouse. By default, the OS X mouse speed is a little bit slow, and I want to bring that up and also add a secondary button. So I have a true right click. Okay. I've added Lightroom to the dock at the bottom of the screen here, so I'll open that up. Initially, you should see this message, catalog not found, so create a default catalog, and this will end up in the pictures folder in my user account, which should be fine. Alright, so this is the initial view in Lightroom, the library module. On the top you have your various modules. Normally we will work with the library and develop modules, occasionally venturing into map, not looking too much at the last four. So to start with, I want to build a metadata template that will be applied to all the photos that I import to the library. So I'll go up to Metadata and then Edit Metadata Presets. I'm not going to fill in all of these fields. Basic info, I'll leave that. Camera info, headline, IPTC content, copyright, I'll add that. The copyright symbol is Option G on the OS X. Copyright status will be copyrighted, and that's all for the copyright fields. Creator, put my name, and I normally add my address, city, and so forth. I'm going to leave those blank for this demonstration. I will put US, country, and phone, email, website as needed. Now you can pre-fill some of these location fields. Normally the sublocation, city, and probably state will change, but most likely most of your images will be shot in a single country. In my case, majority shot in the United States. And I'll also add the 2-character country code. IPTC status, I'll leave that alone. Extension administrative, leave that. Artwork, description, models, rights, video, and keywords, those can all stay blank. I click to the top and then save current settings as new preset. And I'll just give this my initials. This is my general preset, and I'll add the word general. I'll also in the future build presets for various locations that I might shoot in. And then click Done. At this point, I'm ready to take a look at importing some photos. I'll go down to the Import button on the bottom left here. I've already inserted the memory card into the computer, and Lightroom should automatically identify the memory card and the photos on it. A few things to note: we have the source on the left side, thumbnails of the photos on the card, and the destination and import options on the right side. You see it in brief across the top from the memory card, what you're going to do to the photos, and where they're going to go. If the photos are already on the hard drive, you can add them instead of copying them. Since they're on a memory card, I want to make a copy from the card onto the hard drive, and they'll go into my pictures folder. Eject card after import is checked, which is a handy thing. That way you don't have to manually eject the card. You can just pull it directly off the computer after the import is finished. You can check or uncheck individual photos. In this case, I'm going to import the entire collection from the card. Close this down for now. Across the right are your import options. File handling, don't import suspected duplicates. This can be handy if you might already have some photos on the card that you imported earlier. Lightroom will try to recognize these and disable them from being imported. File renaming. I recommend renaming files with some system. So let's take a look at creating a file naming scheme. I'll go down to Edit here. And this is pretty close. I'm going to adjust this to shorten it. Say year, month, date, and then add a sequence number. So each file will have year, month, date, and then the sequence, and then the extension. I'm going to update this preset. This date file name was built in, and I actually want to leave that alone. I'm going to save a new preset and call it date plus sequence. Click Done. And now all I have to do is select this from the drop-down. I can choose a starting number if I need to. And I'm also going to lowercase the extension. I can apply various settings during import. For one thing, I want to add my metadata. I could also have various develop settings, Lightroom presets, or presets that I've built. I'll leave this alone for now. I can also keyword the various photos. In this case, they were all shot in the same place, so I'll add a generic park keyword. Almost all of these are trees, but not quite, so I would normally add a tree keyword, but I'll leave that alone. And then double check the destination. This will go in my pictures folder under the year 2013 and the date the photos were shot. Everything looks correct, so I'll press the import button. I could also save all of these import settings as an import preset. I'm not going to do that because of the keyword that I added up here, but I can automate this quite a bit by building a preset. So I'll click import and then wait for the photos to come in. While these are importing, I'll take a look at some of the various bits and pieces of the library module. On the left side here, you have some zoom options, a navigator looking at the thumbnail, catalog. Each new import comes in under current import. The folders below that show the actual folder structure. Here's 2013 with the current import coming in. I have collections here. Another way to organize files and publish services. For example, sending photos to Facebook. Thumbnails here, some different viewing options for thumbnails. The loop view shows a larger version. You can click on that and zoom all the way in. Click and zoom out. Back to grid. If you choose two photos, hold the Shift key and click on the second one, then you can compare. Or let's say I want to look at these four photos a little bit bigger side by side. Shift click to select them and then look at them in survey view. If I press the tab key, I can hide the columns on the left and right, or press Shift tab to give a larger view. Shift tab again, bring that back, and then back to grid. There are keyboard shortcuts for all of these views. I recommend you take a look and learn those. It makes things a lot quicker to move through various photos. On the right are some quick develop settings, a histogram to give you an idea of where the brightness values and colors are arranged in the image. Keywording to add keywords, additional keywords if you've already added some. A keyword list. Metadata. As you can see, I have my initial pieces of metadata that I added earlier, along with some camera information. And some comments. The Develop module has the full set of develop controls, but you can do quick adjustments in the Quick Develop panel. You can also apply Lightroom presets or user presets. So take a look through here, and I'm going to choose a photo to export as a JPEG. Right now all of these photos are RAW files. Press the E key to go to Loop View. And I'll say this is the photo that I want to export. I'm going to go into Quick Develop and do some adjustments here. Drop down the tone controls. And just real quick here, exposure will darken the image. Reduce contrast. And let's see, reduce the highlights, open up the shadows, darken the whites. Actually, I'm going to bring the whites back up and darken the blacks a bit and add a little bit of clarity. I think this dark area on the left is going to be a little bit too much, so I'm going to go into Develop and crop that off. The crop tool is this first grid-looking icon, or the R key, and I'll just pull that handle in. This may be a candidate for a 1:1 aspect ratio, so I'll click on to the crop aspect ratio presets, and go to 1:1, and then click and drag. And that works pretty well. Close the crop tool and then go back to library. With that, I think this photo is ready to export. I click up to Photo in the top menu, and try to remember where export went. File, export. Normally I would right click on this and find export down here. But either way works. Once again, I can build a preset to export the file. In this case, I'm going to choose the same folder as the original, add to the catalog so it'll automatically show up in Lightroom, otherwise I'd have to manually import it. I'm not going to put it into a subfolder, it's going to be in the same folder as the rest of the originals. I'm going to add to stack, which means it will be grouped with the original file, and I'm going to say above original. Ask what to do for existing files if something is already there, to rename or cancel the operation. I'll keep the same file name. Nothing with video here. And it'll be a JPEG. I'm going to go up to 80% quality instead of 60. I'm not going to resize it, but I will sharpen it for screen. And I'm going to keep all the metadata, and I'm not going to remove location info. Nothing with post-processing or watermarking. And that looks correct. So before I click export, I'm going to add export to JPEG 80% quality. And then export. Alright, so in this case, a file already exists. In this case, I was using the camera to shoot RAW files plus JPEGs. I don't want to delete this particular JPEG yet, so I'm going to say use unique names. Progress bar appears in the upper left, and the file is exported. It's not going to appear in this previous import view because it wasn't part of that import. It will appear under the folder structure in the actual folder of the images. And here it is, 46-2. And then here is the original NEF. Now, you may have seen that warning come up that there was a JPEG already, but we're not seeing any other JPEGs here. The reason is there's a preference setting. If I go up to Lightroom and Preferences, or it's under Catalog Settings and I've forgotten. Under General, here it is. Treat JPEG files next to RAW files as separate photos. When this is unchecked, Lightroom will automatically ignore JPEG files that share the same file name as the RAW file. You may want to check this so that you see the two files side by side, or leave it as is. It depends on what you need to do with the files. Normally I would suggest simply shooting RAW, but I've shot RAW plus JPEG as part of another exercise for this particular shoot. So I'll close those preferences. And that's about it. That is importing metadata work, some presets, and exporting a file. I hope it's been helpful.